It's Always Nazi Week is the 6th episode of the 6th season of 2.5 Men. This is directed by James Widdoes, and as always there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. I don't actually have too many thoughts on this one. It's not my favourite episode, but it's not bad. I don't dislike it. It's just not one that I necessarily rate as highly as many others. Starts off with Alan collecting Jake from Judith. Herb's at the door. And Judith suggests to Alan when she comes to the door that maybe Alan could spend more time with Jake. And by more time, she means 3 months solid. And Alan obviously has to talk this through with Charlie. So we get a scene in the kitchen with Alan and Charlie and Jake. And they're talking about it. And Jake points out that Herb and Judith are fighting 31. And I thought, what are you talking about? I've seen this before. I couldn't remember it. And actually, it makes sense. They're fighting 24/7. 24 plus 7, 31. I rather like that. And Alan is ecstatically happy because Judith obviously blamed him for the breakdown of their marriage, but now it seems like maybe Judith and Herb's marriage is breaking down. And, well, Alan can't be the reason for that one, although I'm sure Judith would probably find a way to blame Alan. So Alan is very, very happy. Jake then comes over. No, he doesn't. Herb then comes over with Jake's belongings. And Jake is then off school, pretending to be sick to get out of a test. He staples his fingers together. And yeah, it's fine. It's not the most interesting narrative, but it works well enough. And Charlie then has to take Jake to the doctor's office because he stapled his fingers together. And he goes to Herb. I feel like he would have taken him to the emergency room, but he takes him to see Herb, his pediatrician, which I don't buy, but nevertheless, this is what happened. And after that, Judith actually threw Herb out, as Alan finds out, and Alan kind of hints things to get Judith to talk and to admit this, and Judith ends up sobbing and breaking down. Alan does the nice thing and comforts her, and the next thing we know, Alan is being kissed by Judith, and Judith says she's never ever letting him go, and then Alan goes back home from Never Ever Land, as he called it, which I rather liked. And then the episode basically just fizzles out from there and nothing else happens. It was a very, very flat ending. I don't want to say disappointing ending, I don't mind what happened, but it just kind of dropped off. It never really felt that satisfying at the end, which wasn't great. And honestly, I don't have anything else to say. Oh, I did like it when Berta went to talk with Charlie, because obviously she has a problem with Jake staying there, but Charlie was already ready with more money and she was happy. So it was nice to have Berta in this as well. I don't really have many more thoughts than that. It's a fine episode. It works well. There are some decent moments, but it's not necessarily the funniest. It's relatively interesting, but honestly, there's nothing about it that I think is particularly interesting, but it's fine. There's nothing about it that doesn't work. I mean, maybe Jake going to see his pediatrician for his fingers stapled together. Maybe he would. Maybe that's realistic. I don't know. But for me, I feel like the emergency room would have made more sense. But nevertheless, that's what happened, and it's fine. It's a decent episode. I have no problems with it, but I also don't have anything else to add. It's Always Nazi Week. It's not a personal favourite episode, but it's still a decent episode of 2.5 Men.